not, I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lori, do a roll call, please.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Here.
Councilmember Jerry Tveit.
Here.
Joe Wheelbauer.
Here.
Robert Bauer.
Here.
Rich Smarty.
Here. All right, let's see. Do I have a motion tonight to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Beemeyer makes that motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Bauer makes that second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to, before we take a motion on the consent agenda, Mr. Bauer said some discussion on one item, not to pull it, but just one discussion on it. So, discussion D, item D rather, is that the one you're talking about? Or
Yes.
Is it? Okay, D. Go ahead and discuss it.
Well, I just wanted to let our residents know that we as city employees and elected officials, when something is being honored to the city, that all of our employees get told about someone being honored that used to be on the fire department. I understand it is just a donation, but when you're on the fire department, you're a family. And we're a family to this entire city and all of its residents. And to not be told that one of our fallen firefighters passed away and the employees weren't told that there was a donation in his honor is a sad day. That's all I had to say. And I will be accepting this donation by the Legion, but it's sad.
All right, well, in all fairness, I have to ask the chief a response to that.
To be honest, every firefighter was notified this past week that we were receiving a donation. When we initially received word of the donation, it went out to the group of our leadership team, the group of officers. In the update this week, every firefighter was notified of the donation and the intention of how we're going to spend this money for the donation. Now, I don't know what timeline I'm being held accountable here for notification, but notification was made to staff.
Was it ample time for them to participate?
We did, the actual accepting of the donation was never described or intended on either my part or the American Legion's part to be an event. They simply wanted to exchange a check. That's why I sent it out to our executive leadership team, and we went and accepted the check. It was even described to me by folks at the Legion that arranged this, that they weren't anticipating a big event. So again, I don't know whose standards or timeline we are being held accountable here to, because I'd like to know beforehand, because we will meet those expectations. This isn't the first donation we've received, and we have not done anything differently with this donation that we have with previous donations. So if there is a different expectation, I would like to know, because I would like to be able to meet it, right? That's all that I ask is, if I'm gonna have a standard, I need to know the standard so I can meet the standard. It's that simple.
All right, and let me ask you, because I was there and I saw you receive the check, and I know that we had a fire truck out there, but it was at the request of the Legion itself not to make a big affair out of it?
Correct. And we didn't even know they wanted a fire truck till we got there, and it wasn't the person that arranged the donation that asked for the fire truck.
Right.
It was somebody else that was there that asked if we could bring the fire truck down. So the conversation that we had at the time that the donation was being given to us was swing down on this date, on this time, and pick up a check if you would.
So in the future, it's just a matter of checking out which is a good way to do it so that everyone's informed and then...
Absolutely. Like I said, I want to meet everybody's expectations here, but we can't constantly move the target and expect that we're going to hit it, right? We will march a mile in the snow if we have to, but we need to know what the expectation is. We need to know what the target is, and we will do everything we can to meet it. But we can't change it in the bottom of the ninth inning with 2 outs and not tell anybody that it changed. So...
Any other discussion before we go to a motion on this? Okay. Then do I have a motion to accept tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bauer makes that motion. I have a second.
Second.
Mr. Beemeyer makes that second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, Lori, do we have anybody we need to open to the public?
Leroy Schaefer.
gentleman over here, who just lost by 67 votes. And it wasn't for lack of trying. Because that's what counts. You've got to get out there and meet the people and do your thing. And we think a lot more of you, no matter what the outcome is, if you work hard. And the other thing that I want to bring up, and that is something that we're all seeing in the news today. I have seen in my lifetime my way of life going down the church, down the church. I see my unions disappearing, which gave me a decent living so I could go to college. And that's because of that it was. And now we're taking away women's rights to have an abortion. Oh, not yet, not yet. Let's qualify that a little bit. But the way we're going in that, we're heading for a dictatorship. If we keep going this way. And I can't predict the future, neither can you. And I'm almost 80 years old, so I probably won't see the future. But I'm concerned about my daughter and my son and the younger generation. We are taking more and more rights away from people, and it's wrong. And if we don't do something about it, we can do it here in St. Francis. You guys are leaders. Your councilman and your the mayor and stuff like this can make I can't remember the exact terminology in that, but you can make a statement to the state and say, St. Francis is against this or that. Make a point of it. Get it in the paper. We've got to fight this thing and that. Otherwise than that, we're going to lose more and more and more privileges and rights. All right? I guess that's all I've got to say. I hope I made a point or two. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you, Roy.
I would just add to that midterm elections are coming up, so that's where your voice can be heard. So get out and vote. It's a 15-minute trip there or whatever, but it's a big thing to do. If you want your voice to be heard, get out and vote. You have a right. We have people on this council that fought for this. Get out there and vote. It's your privilege. A lot of people would die for that or have died for that. Thank you, Roy. Leroy, rather. I'm sorry. Anyways, moving on. Nobody else on media with the public? Okay. Moving on, special business, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program, SWPPP Annual Report. Is that up from Paul? Or
Casey
Greg?
from Hawkinson.
I'll start it.
All right.
So this item includes the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Program, which is a mandated and permit administered by the MPCA. Specifically tonight, we want to conduct a public hearing to take comments on the plan. That is a requirement of the permit. Casey Fisher from our office is here. She helps administer the program for us in St. Francis. So she's going to give a general overview of the program, and then we would request that she open it up for public comment.
Okay, I will do it.
Was it not real? So last year in 2017, St. Francis was issued the MS1 permit for municipal stormwater, separate stormwater and sewer system permit. And that requires to have the stormwater pollution prevention plan called SWIP, SWPPP. And that SWIP is basically to help limit the amount of pollutants that go through our stormwater into public waters. So there's 6 different components of the SWIP. Your first one's going to be public education. We're still in the process of that. St. Francis has 3 years to be in full compliance with the MS4 permit. So still working on the education part. We have the public participation and involvement, which is essentially what this meeting's for, to allow the public to comment on the SWIP. The third part is illicit discharge, which does things like training for employees to be able to recognize and report illicit discharges. We have the emergency response plan in the media attachments in your packet. And then last week I did some training with some of the field staff so they can recognize illicit discharge and know what to do when they see it and report it. Then we have the next 2 are construction, site stormwater runoff control, and post-construction stormwater management, such as making sure that our ordinances are up to date and in compliance with MS4 permits, and as well as making sure that we're doing our inspections, making sure that our runoff, either volume, phosphorus, or total spin size are not increasing after we redevelop or on new development. And then the
All right, you want to open the public then? Okay. All right, open the meeting, open to the public hearing rather, it's 6:11. And I'm going to ask, at this particular point, Ray Jones is here in the audience. Ray, can you come up here? There's a question here about this on stormwater, and I'm hoping that maybe you can help alleviate some of this doubt that he has about MS4. He's an agricultural landowner. So Ray, why don't you come up here and explain your point of view, why you feel about what you feel about the MS4 and your agricultural land. And we're talking about, MS4.
Why don't you go up and explain to what you feel about the MS4 on your agriculture first?
Well, I live out in the western part of St. Francis, 23725 Nacker Street. I farm along with my son and grandson. We rent land, but we're finding out that everything I get in literature, in your newsletter, this is the spring one here, you look in here, stormwater, simple steps, and water quality. We like good quality water too. I got known a 36-acre piece on 71, County Road 71. And it rained here just the other day, like 2 inches. You know where my water is? Right on that 36 acres. You can't even run out of it. There's no place for it, there's nothing but to stay on it. But we're charged $60 on that piece of ground. I rent ground that's not far from this building. There's 3 different parcels on it that I farm out of 80 acres. 45 acres, I gotta pay $180 in other words for that property for rent. And so I'm trying to say that under everything you read, different cities don't charge for vacant land. They've got an equivalent to some places for different rates for land that's sitting where it's platted. And that part is way down a low figure compared to $5 a month and $60 a year. And so I just think that it's unfair to land that I rent and I own, that we're having to pay that when the water stays on the land and it's not running into the ditches or any of that. So I say, why can't we look at a change in our ordinance to allow to take that off? And then people will not that kind of land. You got a lot of lots. You look at your city, 24 miles, 2 miles wide, 12 miles across. Each end of it, you might as well say there's 6 acres on each end, roughly. Better on the west coming this way than the east. That's rural type ground. Not no pavement, no gutters, no stormwater pipes, so you even have to spend any money on. So what are we doing with all the money we're collecting from us? That's what I'd like to know. It's not that we don't like to give you some money every now and then, but the fact is that we don't get no benefit from it at all.
Okay, and you've given me some information before the meeting on Isanti and Elk River, which I passed on to the city administrator, and we will look into it. But I wanted to give you your point, get your point across here, at least you have the option to talk, or your ability to talk to us. So, all right, we'll look into it. I want to just say, and thank you for getting up there and talking. I want to, Craig, at this time, can you expand on that at all? What he's talking about on that is agricultural land. There's no stormwater out there. Is it just a blanket of the MS4 we're doing, or is there some credibility or?
Well, I guess I wasn't specifically involved in how you set your fees,
Okay.
but everyone does them different. I think you guys just use a more simplistic method that each lot gets $60. Some cities, it's actually worse though. At 36 acres is by the acre.
Yeah, you would
Or
be
by the impervious or whatever, can be a lot worse than
more
$60.
expensive.
So, again, I wasn't involved in that, but I think you guys just tried to be fair to everyone, I guess. A small city lot has probably a lot more impervious per acre, but again, they pay $60 also, so. But in general, everybody has runoff. Maybe his piece of property is unique, that it doesn't have runoff, it's contained on the site, but to start specifically pointing those pieces out can be pretty difficult also, so. Because some of them have tiles you don't know, and that could get in the ditch system, but.
It's not basically what absorbed in the ground, it's mostly what the runoff is?
Correct.
You know, Mr. Mayor, it's, you know, I'm on the Upper Rum River Watershed Management Association as well, which is an organization that deals explicitly with water quality. Within this management area, and working in the water field in general, my regular job is a water treatment operator, so I've been to school for this. Stormwater that falls on the ground, there's a certain amount of water that runs off. It's inevitable. It happens. You can't stop it. In addition to that, any water that's absorbed into the ground actually ends up into the aquifer. And the aquifer is kind of a slow-moving underground river. I mean, is the best way to describe it. Those aquifers actually, depending on the layers of the aquifer, at the top surface, which is 10 feet below ground, I mean, you dig down 10 feet, around here you hit water. And that upper surface actually ends up into the Rum River as well. It just does. You know, there's no getting around it.
So what you see with fertilizer on the ground and rain and all that absorbs eventually into that?
And absolutely it does. And that's why we have the well monitoring program and the wellhead protection program, is because contaminants are being put on the surface. When the rainwater hits it, it sinks down and gets into the aquifer. That's why we have to have monitoring programs for our wells. And depending on how deep the well is, depends on how fast it's going to get there, because it has more ground to go through. But it does end up into the groundwater as well. And that groundwater, there's surface water that's under the influence of groundwater, which means that it's connected to the aquifer.
Well, thank you for that clarification.
No problem.
You know, this council administration has always believed that a resident has a right to bring something up, of course, and the city's responsibility is to give it full due diligence, which is what we're going to do here. So I've given the information again to the city administrator. I will look it over with him and present it to council if necessary. But we will take what you said here in your concern, and we'll discuss it with our engineer and along with the city administrator. But like he said, every city's different, and we'll see, and we're trying to do it on the most fair basis. As he said earlier, 36 acres, if you charge by the acre, well, that would be a heck of a lot of money, where now you're only be charged $60 for 36 acres. So we'll look at the program. We'll see how it is, but again, you know, my own belief as a mayor and what I ran on is that when a resident brings something up, again, we owe you full due diligence to look into it with as much due diligence as we can. We don't take it lightly that you brought something up. We will look into it. We'll get back to you. Okay? Right. Anything else that you guys want to say? Any discussion at all on council? I'll start with Rich.
Well, I think, you know, I guess I was on the council when we first started this. You know, and that's when the requirement first became a reality, and there's a lot of things that we needed to do, and I think we still have some misconceptions about, you know, is this money just going to pay for the gutters and things that the people in the sewer and water service part of the city have. And that's not the case. You know, you heard there's different parts to this. There's education, there's all that kind of stuff. And when we knew we had, you know, this unfunded mandate that we had to go deal with from the state, we didn't want to levy for it. We were going to generate dollars and put into a specific fund. The way we chose to do that was to charge every parcel equally, at least to get off the ground. It doesn't say it's going to be like that forever and ever. You know, we're only into year three of this. You know, and like Craig said, every city does it different. We decided to do it every parcel, because like Craig said, you know, if you start out at Malcolm's place way on the west end, and you say, well, his land is of a certain size, shape, whatever, we're not going to charge him. Where do you draw the line when you start keep working your way east and get downtown? You know, So we kind of said, okay, to start off, everyone's going to pay, every parcel is going to pay their $5 a month to get the fund started, to do all these things that we have to do, that the state of Minnesota is mandating us, now that we have met, a population threshold and we're on the Rum River. That doesn't mean we can't, look at it in the future and decide that, we're going to make some changes. But, to do something like this and treat parcels differently than others, it's a little bit tricky, just because where do you draw the line? And especially when it's kind of subjective, when one person can look at one parcel and kind of see one thing, and another person can look at that same parcel and see something else. So for the time being, it's everyone's in the same boat. We're all part of the same community trying to protect what goes into the Rum River watershed. And the way we chose to do it was everyone's going to contribute $5. Every parcel is going to contribute $5 a month, $60 a year. And we can always look at it in the future, but that was our decision 3 years ago, and it's still like that. So it's kind of how we got to where we are from, I think, when the council probably voted on this in 2015? Is that the year, I think?
15, yeah.
Yeah, it's third year now.
Well, thank you for that clarification. Before I go on here, I just want to say to you, and it's still open to the public, but is it more so, it's when it's say runoff, and what Jerry brought up about, absorbing into the ground, which is, I realize that is, that's a fact. But where Ray's coming out is that Ray's thought is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, he's saying there's no stormwater piping out in his agricultural area. So he doesn't feel he should be paying for something he doesn't see. But is there I guess my point is there two sides of the stormwater, the piping part of it, but it's the runoff part, and then there's also what absorbs in the ground? Is that the part of it too?
Correct. I mean, like Mr. Tibet said, everyone has runoff. It rains, eventually it's going to run off. The sandier soils, not as much runs off as, let's say, clay soils, but all runs off. This gentleman's property, again, may be landlocked and his drainage doesn't go anywhere, but again, that's a unique parcel. I would say 90.
Unless it was sloped.
Right, maybe he has a hole and it contains his lot, but I mean, my house is that way out in the township, Big Lake. My runoff stays on my lot because I got a hole in the back.
Now, are you clay or sand out that way?
Yeah, it just infiltrates. Okay. Again, every property is unique, and it's difficult to look at parcel to parcel. It takes a long time and a lot of money. And again, it's how, like Mr. Squirrel said, this guy may look at this property this way, this guy may look at it this way, and it's still an argument.
So basically, but I'm saying it's a twofold problem. It's just not stormwater piping and runoff that way through gutters and pavement, whatever.
Yeah, you don't run off directly into a creek.
Right, but it's also what goes into the ground itself and absorbed in the ground. It's stormwater, and that's the problem. So I'm just trying to get a clarification to Ray, because this has been brought up before from him. So that, and I do agree with Mr. Squirtle that it was the fairest way to be. I mean, because, for instance, we do have one resident, I won't mention the name, who has 13 parcels that could put it all under one PID, property identification number, and only pay $160 fee, but then to sell those properties, have to break it out of the PID, and that could be legally more of a hassle than it's worth. So he keeps them as those properties, individually. It's not beneficial to him at this point, but as he sells them, it will be, of course. So, as I've always said, progress is a double-edged sword. There's going to be people that like it, people that don't, and any change people don't like, do not like. So, in this particular case, again, this was passed down from the state to the county to the city. That's where we are. So, once again, we'll look at it, Ray. We'll look at it. We'll give you an answer, whether it be what you want. I don't know.
For this fellow here, for you to know, if you had a 5-inch rainfall, how much of that water is actually kind of burst into that ground?
It depends on the soils. With the soils out here, you probably, if you use the charts, it's probably about 2 inches of runoff.
And how much is going to run off?
Of that 5 inches, 2 to 3 inches.
Roughly 2. 1 inch will remain there and evaporate in the ground.
Yep.
Right. My problem I have with this real program is it stated as the Minnesota Stormwater Project. In Minnesota, since when do we stop and say first that we was started with 50,000 cities, down to 25, down to 10, down to 5. Then we got financial county or any county in the state under a program of stormwater, which call it, and have to abide by it. No, it was easier to do this thing on those city things and start that way. And everything you look at, that's pollutants, where the pollutants from maybe are falling into city sewers and drain fields or drain tiles to get into either a creek, river, down the river further. How much contaminant? I'm only half a mile from my Sandy County. How much of that is coming down around here or coming through the Long River from there? All the way on up north on that. That's where the contaminants are. But I claim that I don't think you could put a dye in my farm out there and put a bottle of it down there and tell me when it entered the TV Creek or the Rum River or Mississippi River. But the contaminants are, we all got them. Our car tires are running around here all over town, with the roof off the roof. I like it when you tell them, the people, wash your car off so it goes in the grass, don't run it down on your blacktop or your concrete drive. And directly into the drain, that can drain all this contaminants right down the drain. But you can say that we farm up, but we've been cutting back on nitrogen. We used to have a record here in your city of how much nitrogen went in the stuff. There's not enough corn and nitrogen used in this county to spit on in our area here. You get it up there.
But Ray, to monitor all that would be incredibly costly and cost prohibitive. To monitor that little dye on your site to see where it comes out, I say good luck, you know. But I will tell you, we will look into this, but again, as Mr. Skordahl alluded to, we did it on a fair level basis. $60 for 36 acres is cheap, and it's $5 a month. I understand where you're coming from. We'll look into it and give you an answer. Whether it's going to be the answer you want to hear, it'll be the best answer we can give you. You know, we could have raised the prices, according to what my administrators told me last year, right? We could have raised the prices, we didn't. We kept them flat. So, you know, we're listening to you, but at the same time, our hands are tied. So we'll do the best we can here to give you an answer. But as we look at your information, and we'll discuss it further on our side.
Well, I guess my question right now is where the money that you receive from these other ones are, where are you going to spend the money?
Those go into stormwater related projects. Right, I grant you that. It goes into a dedicated account for stormwater related projects throughout the city.
Maybe I'm quite related to that, but I don't know. I've had a lot of people, I really had like me over there, running to go out and go door to door. I'd be back there knocking on that door, but I'm 90 years old and I'm damned if I run in my legs are coming out.
I know, Ray, but you got, you know, I agree with you. You got to fight the fight that needs fighting, but you got to pick the battle worth fighting, okay? There's a bigger, broader picture here in the city of what we're trying to accomplish. $60, $5 a month is not the biggest battle in the world, okay? I agree with you and I understand where you're coming from, but you're talking about 3 sites you have for $180 and a $60 site. You know, I understand where you're coming from once again, but the fact of it is there's a bigger battle out here for us to fight. Increase our user base to bring the water rates down. That's what we're working on. I'm not saying we can avoid looking at what your concern is, and we will look at it. But at the end of the day, we're going to give you the best answer we can, the most due diligent researched answer we can. It may not be an answer you want to hear, but we sure as heck will give you one. We will look into it to the best of our ability.
All I know is that I gave you a paper that you can distribute to them that the city of Alberta does not charge.
And I will do that.
A vacant land, if you had your house burned down and they cleaned it all up, took the tar and any impervious rock on there, they didn't vacant land.
Well, I will be calling Elk River up, and I sat to myself and discussing that. So we'll check on that and get back to you on that. Like I say, but you have to pick the battle here, okay? Any further discussion from the public? Is the hearing still open? No? Then I will close this portion open to the public hearing at 6:31. Okay, and we will discuss it with city administrator and engineering, and I will be calling those other cities according to what the literature you gave me. All right, moving on to new business. We have the water sewer utility rates ordinance 241, second series, amending the fee schedule, second reading.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, second reading in front of you. Like you had previously stated, with this, the timeline for the effect was presented at the last meeting. It'll take 30 days after publication to be implemented, and the final result will be a 20% increase in water and sewer utility.
Decrease.
Oh, it's not increase.
Yeah, there you go, up for it. Okay.
Any discussion on this? Jerry, I'll start with you.
No, it's something that we've already discussed. I think it's a good plan.
Joe?
Bob?
Nothing new since we last talked.
I just want to say to you that the spreadsheets that our finance director did, along with the due diligence that our city administrator did, checking this and counter-checking this to make sure of it, we put some safety guards into it, and because the development is in play right now, this is how we made this possible. So, between River's Edge and Woodhaven and our rehab center coming, our Walker Methodist assisted living project coming forward. These things are in the works. We have new land up for sale here. We just got on the market here, I believe, or coming on the market anyways. There's 124 acres on Ambassador and 47, another 12 acres on the other side of the road, I believe, on that one. 33 acres across the Public Works building for commercial. So there's new land available here that's coming on the MLS. So there's good potential for development now and in the future. But I just want to put a caveat out there to the public. We're always susceptible to the economy. We don't know where the economy is going to be tomorrow, let alone 5 years from now. And I've always said in prior meetings, whether are we in the first year of a 5-year run or are we in the 5th year of a 5-year run, we don't know. So as of right now, these rates seem to be the right thing to do, these rate reductions. And again, because we've done a lot of fiscal discipline and fiscal responsibility as far as looking at the numbers to make sure we're doing the right thing here, and we are as of today. But again, I just put this out, and just for information's sake, is we don't know what the economy is going to do. If it goes into a recession or a bad one, we'll have to look at this in a different light. But whatever we do will be on a gradual rate basis, not dumping 45.85 on anybody. It will be done gradually and in the kindest way we can do it. But we have to pay the bills for the city is our responsibility. So I just want to put that out there. This is a good thing we're doing here. It took us 18 months to do it. It's why we got elected. And I feel very sound about this, and I'm sure the council does right here, along with staff. So this wasn't done just to get somebody elected or make you all feel good just for feel good's sake. It was done because it was the right thing to do. But again, it's premised on the fact that the economy is going well right now. What it will do a year or two down the road, I can't tell you. But being fiscally sound, we will look at this on an annual basis and adjust as accordingly. And as our user base increases, those rates should stay steady. So barring any further discussion, we'll do an ordinance and we'll do a roll call vote on water, sewer, and utility rates, ordinance 241, second series, amending the fee schedule, second reading. And I will
I'll make a motion.
Oh boy. Okay. Rob?
I'll make the motion.
All right, I approve. Mr. Bauer makes a motion. Mr. Bauer makes a second. Barring any further discussion, all in favor say aye. It's a roll call. Oh, it's a roll call. I'm sorry. That's right. I just said that. Roll call.
Rich Scordown,
Aye.
Robert Bauer,
Aye.
Joe Muehlbauer,
Aye.
Mayor Steve Feldman.
Aye.
Jerry Tveit.
All right. I got excited there. Anyways, all right, I just want to also tell everybody that this will go to a second reading now, then it goes to publication. So it's the first bill in September. You will see the change. Am I correct on that, Joe?
Bill's due September 10th.
The bill that's due September 10th, you'll see the change. Okay. If you have any questions at all on anything, you can call the city anytime.
In order to speed the timeline up, I would like to make a motion to authorize a summary publication for this ordinance. That's typically what we do when there's not a...
Can we do that?
Yeah. You can do that. I think I did talk to Barb about that before, that she said we would basically show the rate changes, the numbers, and so other than that, we don't have to print the whole fee.
We don't have to?
I had the same
Okay.
question, but yeah, she said we can just do the actual changes.
Okay, then that's fine.
So,
Then I'll withdraw my motion if it's okay with Joe.
So does that affect it earlier than later?
Well, the summary, what the difference is you still have to publicize it, but one is just a summary of the change you're doing versus the other is you have to change everything. And since there wasn't a summary publication on here, then...
So now we'll do a summary then?
I had that same concern, and I brought it to Barb, and she said just because it's the one couple lines of water and sewer rates, that's what should be published, and then
Okay.
it should be fine, so.
Okay, yeah, well, then I'll withdraw my motion, we'll just go with the regular publication.
Okay. That's agreeable? Good, okay, good, very good. Thank you. I get excited when we're doing something like this. All right, moving on to development design standards for Bridge Street corridor.
Mayor and Council, before you in your packet is a request to move forward on the planning steps of creating design standards. Within the St. Francis Corridor Plan, we work with residents to identify a vision of a downtown on Bridge Street. Within that development plan, HKGI also references the need for streetscape elements and some of the standards that would apply to that vision that was created. Design standards are used in cities for downtown districts, housing districts, commercial and industrial plans, just to kind of guide the creation, the layout, and again, that streetscape or that overall vision. A design standard is an overlay that works to guide our districts over our existing zoning codes. It'll work with our parking, it can work with signage, and then building exteriors. Before you, in your packet, is a proposal from our current planner in creating a Bridge Street overlay. The benefit of using Stantec is they are familiar with our existing codes and have the ability to work with them in the process. The time to complete this process is actually really efficient right now because we're having to start to look at all of our zoning codes at the same time with the 2040 comp plan. So this would be a good fit between the process of finishing our redevelopment plan and kicking off some of those changes we'll make for our comp plan. And I would be happy to answer your questions.
So let me ask you, Kate, this basically just gives us some basic, policy and criteria that we go by. Do we have flexibility as we see development coming forth?
Mayor and Council, it would. If you go into some of the downtown districts, say, Anoka, you will see potential signage or streetscape or lighting or signage that even the city would put out that is uniform and kind of directs to a certain district visually. What we can do is, there's a lot of best practices out there. There's a lot of cities that have already created these. So working with Stantec, our design team, and those best practices, we can put together something that would allow us the flexibility to not over-regulate, but still have that ultimate goal of creating that vision of the downtown. How buildings are placed with parking behind, how signage or how that layout in these new structures would enhance that downtown feel and not end up at 10 different buildings with 10 different styles and 10 different looks. So it would guide on top of our zoning to create a district as far as visual.
So more like a guideline. And my example would be, if a restaurant comes in here, they have their themes. We wouldn't be saying they can't use their theme like a Red Lobster type of thing, or a Chili's or an Applebee's or something like that. Their theme of a restaurant, they could, we're not saying you can't use your theme. You have to build it our way.
Correct, Mayor and Council, but we may tell them we want them to have parking in the back, or support a streetscape with lighting in the front that would enhance our district versus something that may be very modern and completely separate from our historical building next to the river. So they would still be allowed to have their same designs for their restaurants, but they would need a standard that would be the replacement or overall vision of, making it fit in.
So basically guideline but flexible at the same time as far as their themes or their theme type of restaurant. Okay. I'm gonna open this up for discussion. Joe, I'll start with you.
I don't have any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think it's a good idea to try to help guide the district so we don't have spotty development here and there with different, like you say, 10 different looks and 10 different, gets to be kind of chaotic. So as long as we can be flexible and work with people as well, I think it's a good thing.
Jerry?
I don't have any questions about this plan, but I'm kind of wondering if St. Francis is maybe looking at perhaps rebranding their look, very similar to what Anoka did with their downtown district, to make it more historic, and then they with the new medians and everything. And they actually went through a rebranding campaign. And, as I was looking through this proposal and stuff like that, that kind of almost seemed like what we were getting at, but we weren't saying that. Is that kind of what we were thinking?
Mayor and Council,
and that was the only question I had.
Okay. Rich?
No, I don't think I have any questions. I guess, well, when I say that, then, hey, I got a question. So where does the $14,000 come to pay for the bill? It sounds reasonable, but I assume you've got a plan to pay for that?
Mayor, so we do have funds in the community development building term.
Okay, I'm all for it. I think it's, we said we wanted to go off and go down this St. Francis Forward plan, and this is just another tool in the toolbox to go implement it, so I'm all for it.
Well,
I kind of had the same concern that the mayor did with kind of a branding or not allowing businesses to keep their brand. In speaking with someone, I was enlightened that White Castle wanted to open a business in a city that had maybe a little more stringent requirements to it for their look. And they're like, well, we're going with a red theme, and they're like, well, we're White Castle, we want to build our White Castle. So they basically moved out of that city and didn't actually develop in the city of the person I was talking with. So I just want to make sure that we're not being that stringent. And that's really, other than that, it looks really good. I appreciate the information about our, us moving forward.
okay. Well, I want to say to you, Rich is right, this is a tool, and we're having development go on with future development coming, so we have to be prepared. This is an important tool here to have some guidelines. But as I truly believe, the reason where we are is because we discuss things, we do our due diligence, and we are flexible where we can be without changing policies and ordinances. So I think that's important. What Rob just alluded to, and that is that the fact that again, restaurants and stuff like this, we want to make sure, like you say, down lighting, parking, whatever, and all that, and not be so stringent that we say you have to build it our way or it doesn't work. So as long as we keep that in mind, I think that this tool does that. So I have no problems with it. So on that, do I have a motion to go forward with the development design standards for Bridge Street corridor?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make that motion.
Mr. Squirrel makes that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Debate makes a second. Are any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. All right, second meeting open to the public. Anybody, Lori? Anybody from the audience at all? Okay. Before we move on here, I got an email earlier today from a resident that was worrying about what we're going to do about the animal control situation or concern. I've had some health issues I've gotten hopefully passed here, and we've got some development that would move beyond, and we got things in the ground. So it's time to move on to this type of discussion. So what I'd like to do here is set up a time here between the three members of this committee, which is Todd Schweigert, our police chief, Jerry Tabate, our council member, and myself. For our first meeting will be informal to discuss the situation and chart a course, and then interviews that we're going to be doing. So at this particular point in time, can we look at our calendars at all and try to get some data? Of course, it'll be after the holiday, but can we see where we might be on a time and date that's good for everybody? Jerry, I'll start with you. If you can get your schedule, whatever.
Yeah. Let's let me back up here. I think this is the right one. They opened up an old schedule.
Okay.
What time are you thinking? 5 o'clock, 5:30,
5:30, something like that, 5:30.
Okay. If 5 o'clock would, I think, work the best.
Todd?
I could even do earlier, and that way Todd doesn't have to.
Okay, you let us, go ahead.
Okay, even 4 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm only off like 2 days all next month, but, I'm working midnight shift and a lot of split shifts.
Okay.
So there's a possibility I'd be starting at 7.
Give us a day.
So. You want towards the end of the month?
What's ever good for you in your schedule? I'll start with that.
Yeah, how about, either one of the last 2 weeks in July would be good.
Okay. On the jail, on the 25th, 23rd, we have a location in Riverbank. How about, either Tuesday the 24th, or 26th, 27th, anything like that, 30, 31?
Yeah, the 24th would work out.
24th? Does that work for you? All right, so how about July 24th at 4 o'clock? 7/24 at 4 p.m. And we'll do that at the police department. We'll meet you over at your place. Okay, is that okay? In that little meeting room that we meet? Okay? So we'll do that at the Public Works building.
Is there any information that I should bring, or?
I'll see what I can get together with Joe and all that, and then look at some other packets, and I'll bring what I can. I'll give it to you in plenty of time. Okay? So once again, 7/24, 4 p.m. at the Public Works Department. That'll be our first meeting for the committee on animal control. And then we'll decide what we're going to do in the future as far as interviews and which course of action we're going to take, and then we'll let the public know that one. So, thank you, both of you. Okay? Moving on to council member reports. I will start with Rich.
I guess two things. I guess we got the notice that the capital improvement plan was out for review. We're going to be seeing that in the next couple of weeks. And I read all 72 pages of it before I came here, and it is easy to understand. And thanks to all the staff that put all the details in and the rationale and description. I mean, it is easy to follow. It's easy to see what you want to do, why you need to do it. So when it comes time to discuss that, it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So I'll thank all your staff for the work they put into that. Then I guess it's Wednesday is the day for everybody to break the law and shoot fireworks. So please be safe. And one thing to consider, and they're not always easy to notice, but every once in a while you'll see a sign that there's a veteran that's got PTSD in your neighborhood. Keep them in mind. You know, I'm sure most of them would not want you to cancel 4th of July, but maybe if you knew that a certain night was the night you were going to celebrate, and if you let them know that, that might be the night they're going to choose to go to the movies and go out for dinner or something. Because it's tough for those guys and gals that came home and have to suffer through that. And then to live through some of our neighborhoods that, I mean, it's like World War II in some of our neighborhoods. Which, you know, it is what it is. If it bothers you, you can always file a complaint. But I'll keep those people in mind. But always have a safe 4th of July and enjoy yourselves. That's all I have.
Thank you. Rob?
I just want to tell the residents, go out and celebrate 4th of July. A couple of things that I have in motion is I spoke with Anoka County about maybe trying to get the bike path and walkway underneath Bridge Street as that development comes in, and kind of keep residents from passing over Bridge Street. They're going to come out and do a study to see if that's feasible. And the other one was I got a call out to the emergency services of Anoka to talk about the siren. So those are two things that I'm working on. Just wanted to kind of keep the residents up to date. But go out and enjoy the 4th. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday.
Okay. Joe?
I don't have a lot to report. Just thank staff again for all your hard work regarding pretty much everything you do, especially the water rates. I know that's huge. I really do appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody will when they finally see the change in their bill. Just want to reconfirm with everybody too that over time, if things go as planned, there will come a point where rates would have to be raised very slowly and incrementally. I'll post all that stuff as well on my page if anybody's interested. Other than that, have a safe 4th of July, and thank you to all the veterans that served.
Jerry?
There's a couple things that I need to bring up. The Upper Rum River Watershed Management Association had a meeting that I attended. They're still trying to do their 10-year comprehensive plan. Now, I want this council to understand that the management organization, the watershed management organization, doesn't have any staff at all. We have somebody that types up the minutes. We pay her X amount of dollars for, type up the minutes, but everything's done with the people on the committee, and they all have full-time jobs. The proposal's been raised to actually hire a staff person to actually go to the meetings, because there's a lot of meetings that happen at the state level, at the county level, and our watershed management organization doesn't have any representation there. And we really don't have any resident experts to know everything. And there's some grants that perhaps we could qualify for that we don't even know that they're out there. So in the future, I know that we're asking Conservation District to help us with that. I think they're going to put together a proposal, and I believe that somebody from the management organization, watershed organization, or the county is going to come out and present a proposal to the city about hiring a full-time staff person to actually help us tackle a lot of these organizational issues that we're having. The problem is that it comes with a cost. When you hire somebody, you have to pay wages. So that means if it's something that the management organization goes forward and the cities are okay with that, there's going to be an increase in
Would that be an individual with each city then?
each city right now, there's 7 cities that each contribute I think St. Francis is like $4,000 is it a year or 6 months?
I think a year.
It's like $4,000. Well, they could double. If we hire somebody, we gotta pay their wages. So that could be coming. Look forward in the future to having a representative from the watershed management organization here to talk about this proposal, because we can't go forward without the city's approval. But I think it's something that's needed. I think Paul Teicher would agree that it's something that's needed.
Would that be on a full-time basis or like an internship type of thing?
Well, it wouldn't be an internship. It would be estimated. A lot of the stuff it's estimated high at first, with the anticipation is they'll be more efficient as time goes by. There's grant writing and going to these meetings and stuff like that. They estimated it per hour, and I forget exactly how many hours they had estimated. But it's hard not knowing exactly what's going to happen in the future, exactly how much.
But would it be
it's gonna cost.
basically a full-time position, no matter what for the city then? Or to start out with that and then take her off, or how?
It could be periodic to go to meetings and bring the information back to the committee.
Well, it would be, I believe it'd be a part-time thing, but some weeks are going to be heavier than others, depending on when the meetings are scheduled, depending on when the council meetings are. There's some cities that there's...
So basically not a salaried employee, but...
No, they'd be paid more on an hour basis. So look forward to that coming.
And you'll bring it to our attention when...
And I will, and it'll be on the agenda. There'll be a speaker here with a proposal and stuff.
Well, it is important, no doubt.
Yeah, because clean water, that's what half our meeting was today, was about clean water, so.
Right.
Then I had a citizen come up and talk to me about the Bastrop Community Park. It seems like it's an awful lot. And they're asking if it's a city park and a city bathroom, could that be unlocked and just available for everybody to use? Now, I did explain that we've had a lot of problems with vandalism in the past. And, I don't know if there's a way to try to resolve some of those issues, at least during the summer months when the park gets used a lot. Perhaps it could be open, we could assign a...
Well, I can tell you right now, because I've got a call on that too, and we have a July 10th meeting with our police department, along with the Lions Club, Ambassador Program, Chamber of Commerce, and the Lions Club. We will be talking about that. An idea was brought up that the entities could split the bill and have a third party clean it up. I'm
For Night
Unite and then Pioneer Days, whatever. So, but from past experience, from our Public Works Director's information and along from Tony at the Chamber, the messes that it made was very difficult to take care of. So, am I open? You know, it depends on how much it's going to cost, but all the entities are open, or at least we're going to be discussing it on the July 10th meeting. As we get plan for Night Unite, we're going to discuss it then about how to maybe share the cost and get a third party that specializes in that to do it, so we can.
Yeah, because that was one thing that I had said, you know, vandalism and you know, it's not the first time that our park's been vandalized. We've had, you know, park equipment burned in the past, you know, and graffitied and you know, it does cost a lot of money, and I know our park dedication fund is not infinite. I mean, there's a finite amount of money, and those resources are spoken for.
But I will say on the Chamber's behalf that they do supply plenty of porta potties through a Pioneer Days or whatever. And so in Night Unite, we have that out there too. So are we going to look into it? Yeah, I mean, once again, as I stated before, when a resident brings something up, we are going to look into it. We're not going to ignore it, but you know, sometimes the public can get a little carried away, and bathrooms are one of those areas that they do get carried away. So we'll have to look at it in a responsible way.
Yeah, I just assured the citizen that I'd bring it up.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is I want everybody to have a good, safe 4th of July. You know, watch your drinking and driving, put on sunscreen if you're at the beach. You know, there's a lot of common sense safety things that we can do. So, you know, let's just be safe. Watch for pedestrians as you're driving along. You know, that's always a big thing in the summertime. Kids are out there, and people are out there later, running around. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. That guess brings it up to me then. The capital improvement plan, I agree with Rich, was very good. Okay, but there's one item that I just want to plant the seed on right now for us. The capital improvement plan is for us to look out 10 to 20 years to project what our costs or what our expenditures are going to be for a capital improvement. One of these things I would look at, or wish, or at least like to say about, talk about, is electronic metering, water meters. Okay, I know when I lived in Ramsey, they upgraded their meters, and I know there's a big cost factor to that, but there's always that possibility that one, you could have a failure on the meters we have. There's also a number 2 possibility that you could have a meter reader making a mistake, putting a 2 down instead of a 9 down instead of a 2, whatever. I happen to be, in my last monthly bill, I happen to have that problem. So on that, I would just emphasize to the public, if you see something erratic in your bills, okay, in usage, let's say your usage, you know, is constant for your watering months during the springtime, and not during the springtime, but just, you know, you can average it out 6 months and 6 months. If you see a problem, you call Darcy up, our finance director, or you call Public Works, Jen over there. We will send out our Public Works people to look at it, see if our meter's at fault. We will look at your bill. Darcy can do that. And we can also look to see about flappers, which are notorious for leakage and faucets that have washers in them that can wear out. One lady, I won't mention names, but one lady had a problem where she was paying $400 a month. She finally called. We sent our Public Works people out there, and to find out it was a flapper that had been leaking through her toilet. Once that was fixed, problem solved. So to me, instead of complaining or going on Facebook and mentioning it on Facebook, give us the opportunity to work with you. If we don't do that, or we ignore you, or say, tough being you, then I can see you be mad at us. But we're not going to do that. We are actually going to respond to you. So again, if you have a problem where your bill is, like mine was, more this month than the 4 years I've been there, and I happen to watch my meter 3-4 times a day, so I mean, when I'm around in the basement, I'm looking at my meter, so I watch that needle. If it's moving and something's not on, I know I have a leak. I'm just saying to you, I put water head tips on our website under Public Works, but I just want to mention again is, they're human. The readers are human. They can make mistakes. The machines can break. Not often, but they can. But my point being is, and you can have a leak with a toilet flapper, a washer again, a faucet, outdoor spigot, whatever. But the point is, before you go complain or be mad, give us the opportunity to work with you to help you. And that's a call to, again, Darcy, our finance director, to look at your bill and say, she can look at it and say, well, this is what you spent over these months, and all of a sudden this is a spike. Then we can look at it and send our Public Works people out. Or again, you can call Jen at Public Works, and we'll be more glad to send our people out to look at that meter, give you some hints, or look around to see if there's a leak in there that we can help you solve. We've done that on a couple occasions already, and I even had some people write me on my Facebook page, St. Francis Post, and say that these hints that we put out are helpful. We know the rates are high. We're doing everything we can. I know you don't see it, but trust me, we have been working on this for months, ever since we got in. That's why you're seeing the rate cut today. It wasn't something we could put out fast. Haste makes waste. We didn't want to make a poor decision here. We made a good decision here. And again, as Mr. Muehlbauer alluded to, you know, down the road, you know, as I said earlier about the economy, no one knows what that will do down the road, so we'll be careful, but we'll look at it on an annual basis. We will never, ever, and I can tell you that on this council tonight, we will never, ever do a 45, 85 hike again. We will do gradual increment increases, and we will do them with responsibility after we check and do our due diligence. But that may happen down to the 4th or 5th year down the road, but we will always look at the numbers to make sure that we can pay our bills in the city. So that's our first priority. And but like I say, you can help us. I've said this before. I read a mayor handbook, and I've said this before at many meetings before. But it says 3 things: residents working with staff, working with council for a better city. We're doing that, and together we can make the city better. And it's going forward. We've got some great projects in the works right now. We've actually broken ground this couple weeks ago. We had some of the council members there with shovels in the ground. That's the first time since 2006. This is a big deal here for this city. And we got, you know, assisted living coming, like I mentioned earlier, and other things coming. So we're in a good situation here. We're moving forward, and I feel very positive on the way the government's working, and I hope that people realize that. Even though you don't see it as fast as you'd like to see it, doesn't mean we don't hear you. But it takes time to get these things done. Also, I just want to say to you, again, as 4th of July is here and all that, and I agree with all the council members here. Be careful with your fireworks. I know it's 4th of July, and fireworks comes with that day, but be careful with your drinking. Our police are going to be out there as they normally are. DWI, sometimes I read these police reports, and I'm just blown away how people are driving home from bars drunk and crossing the line and stuff like that. And, you know, be responsible. Safety for you and for the pedestrians out on the sidewalk and the streets and that, I mean, that's important. We don't want to, you know, there's no reason to drive drunk, in my opinion. So have a party at home, barbecue all you want, be safe with the firecrackers, and enjoy the holiday. As far as, again, I would just say to you, as far as, again, with the water meters and that, we just put it on the table for discussion. Whether it will ever come to fruition, I don't know. We'll always look at the numbers and stuff like this, but I will say to you that wherever we can be more efficient, we should be, but again, it comes down to dollars and cents. We are a small town. I know Ramsey has 24,000 residents in it. They did this back in, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. They re-updated theirs. So I can tell you that it's something we should at least look at, at least put on the plate, and see how it works over the years as our development gets bigger, our population gets bigger. There may be a need for it, but then of course it always comes down to cost. On that, any further discussion from council or staff?
I have one question. As I'm looking at the upcoming events, which Monday coming up is a work session with Riverbank.
That's on the 23rd, yes.
23rd. That's
Yeah.
a Monday, right?
That's a Monday. Did you want to know the time?
Yeah, well, I'm asking questions.
Okay.
It's 6, isn't it?
Let me see here. Yeah, 6 p.m. at the community center, Riverbank.
Okay.
July 23rd. So mailings will be going out or have gone out, Joe?
They're not going to go up this week.
They'll go out this week. So once again, the Riverbank people, July 23rd, 6 p.m., work session, community center, and the notices will be sent out. On that, let's see, one thing I wanted to discuss was, the city has purchased the church on the corner of Ambassador and Bridge Street. I have heard some comments on our Facebook page, city Facebook page and other Facebook pages. Why did we buy that? It may have been a church 100 years ago, but it's not a church today. And if you drive by that building, you will see what shape that's in. It's an eyesore, and it's been an eyesore for a long, long time. These buildings that we've taken down, like for instance the gas station in front of the city hall that was there 14 years and a hazardous location. And I know our police chief said he wouldn't let our police officers go in there without hazmat suits. We took that building down, and I want to clarify to everybody here and on the video that Quick Trip does own that lot. They are scheduled the spring of 2019 to build a Quick Trip on the corner of Cree Street and 47. Is that correct? Is that Cree? Is that 233 or 233? Okay, because the city hall's on Cree Street. Okay, 233 and 47 is going to be a Quick Trip on the corner there. Okay, that is coming spring of 2019. Our community development director has been in communication with Quick Trip to see if they will put a sign up there saying, again, Quick Trip coming spring of 2019, or allowing us to put a sign up there so it'll be more clear for everybody to understand that. They are coming. As far as getting back to the church, we have a long-term development plan for Bridge Street. We've taken down one building next to it. We have another one coming down behind Subway coming down. We're clearing the way of the old hazardous buildings to make way for development. That's what the Economic Development Authority is, the EDA in this city, and this is progressive long-term thinking. So our thought was the church, and looking at the bigger, broader picture, church going down makes for a better retail district, and that's why we're doing it. It's not against, you know, when someone says to me that it was a church, it was maybe a church in 1895, but it's not a church in 2018. It's a hazardous building. And people have also written on there that they've had their sons or daughter, one individual wrote in that they found their child doing drugs in that building. That may or may not have been. But the question, the thing is, the building, if you drive by it, is dilapidated. It's not going to do any good for our long-term development that we're planning on here. We're trying to bring the city into the second millennium in the way of new retail and the things that you want that we can get here. But to do that, we have to be progressive and open-minded. And that building does not fit for the St. Francis Forward Plan. I would think council would agree with that. That's why we went ahead and voted to be taken down. So again, if you have any questions, and I'm going to end this meeting with this, if you have any questions on anything, please call up your community development director, your city administrator, city clerk, the city. We're here to help you. We're here to answer your questions. We're not here to be secretive or not inform you of what we're doing here. We're here to spend your money wisely and make the city grow in a positive way. On that, again, no further from anybody, council, peanut gallery, or the staff. All right, on that, I will call this meeting to an end at 7:09. Thank you.